If I don't do anything, this place will burn down, and all my anxiety will go away with it.
And then you put the fire out.
And you put the fire out.
The Bear is a show that I didn't quite expect. Everyone who said to watch it and all the promos I would see for it told me that this was a show about cooking. And I am not a foodie. But when I started watching, I was swept into a kitchen filled with a wide range of surprising delicacies.
Damn.
The main ingredient that this fictional kitchen staff serve is the deterioration of their mental health with a side of trauma, garnished with the grief of losing someone they love. Despite the frigidness of these ingredients, the Bear is able to craft a main course that is both tender and heartwarming by showcasing one of the most scarcest resources in our modern-day lives: care. The Bear creates a warm atmosphere where we are constantly served intricate storylines told from the perspective of multiple characters within the kitchen. And the kitchen was the perfect location to showcase care. When it comes to cooking, there is a tremendous amount of care needed to create the greatest dishes. Even the simplest dishes can be elevated by just showing care. And that's what the Bear excels at. From the small moments between characters to how the show was filmed and crafted with several scenes being one continuous shot, everything about the show exudes care. That care continues throughout each episode and stays with you even after the episode ends. But how does the Bear make you care? So in an effort to answer this question, let me lend my care to craft another video essay. So let's start with just 2 words.
Yes, yes!
To answer the question, we'll need to understand where the show takes place. Created by Christopher Storer and inspired partly by a real sandwich shop, The Bear is a show that follows a wide cast of characters set in a fictional kitchen in Chicago. Now, there's a lot I can say about Chicago, but the first thing we have to discuss is the number of shows set in Chicago. There are a lot of shows set in Chicago. 2 of them surprisingly star Jeremy Allen White. But these shows always have one thing in common, besides the fact that they're all in Chicago. They highlight the fact that the world is apathetic. From the bitter cold to the abundance of pests and grime, Chicago is portrayed as an unrelenting force that reminds us that the world does not care about us. This can be true for the abundance of shows set in dense urban cities. There is just so much going on, so many people out there, and so much happening around us that it's a miracle that these cities exist in the way that they do. The amount of planning, infrastructure, and community engagement that goes into creating a metropolitan city is insane. And not everyone will feel like the city cares at all about them. Being from Los Angeles, I can attest to how little a city can truly care about each individual living in it. But the most miraculous thing happens when people live in a big city like Chicago. They find a sense of peace amongst the chaos, and all it took was to find their little corner of the world in which they are cared for. The Bear highlights this in its portrayal of life in the kitchen. Carmen Berzado, the first character we are introduced to, is an award-winning chef who worked in famous Michelin-starred restaurants. Soon, the uncaring depiction of our world appears in the form of the kitchen, while Carmen is haunted by the high stress, anxiety, and apathy of his time working there.
You should be dead.
He then leaves to work in the restaurant of his late brother. From the burning heat to the abundance of pests and grime, the kitchen is portrayed as an unrelenting force that reminds us that the world does not care about us. But between these moments, care can break through and reach even the most apathetic parts of the kitchen, or even the world. And we realize that when we choose to care, we can make even the most harshest conditions feel like home. So how does the Bear make us care about caring? First off, the Bear highlights the consequences of apathy. This feeling that the world doesn't care about you can instill a form of apathy amongst people. The feeling that, since the world doesn't care about me, why should I care about anything else? The show demonstrates this by thrusting us into a hectic pilot episode. Throughout the entire first episode, we are privy to constant arguments and a hell of a lot of yelling.
Your mom for 6 months. No, don't fucking!
There is nothing about the beginning of the show that properly explains what is going on, but we are fed morsels of information. With this lack of information, the bear seemingly doesn't care about the audience. It doesn't care if you pick up the many hints of characters' backstories, and it layers the consequence of not knowing what is going on with the show. That feeling of not knowing what's going on can be disheartening. The show truly doesn't care if you are following along, which may cause people to dismiss the show entirely. But this first episode alone teaches you that this series needs you to care so you can understand what's going on. And if you don't pay attention, if you don't care what's happening to the world around you, then you'll never truly understand your place in it. You'll be left feeling that you are better off not being there. Through the arguments, yelling, and moments of pure chaos, the show continuously reminds us the consequences of apathy. And there is one consequence that unravels and haunts the main characters: Michael's suicide. The grief of losing someone you loved is often unbearable. It finds its way throughout your daily life, in even the smallest of tasks. And the weight of knowing your loved one took their own life is impossible to carry. It can feel like the world is burning around you, and serves as a constant reminder of the consequences that occurred because it felt as if you did not do enough. You didn't know them enough, and you just didn't care enough.
As we got older, I realized I didn't know anything about him. Really.
Despite Michael being gone, he is a major part of the show. His presence is felt throughout, despite his absence, as the characters cling on to a memory in which Michael was not gone. They are resistant to change, because accepting change is accepting that life moved on without him. Richie even becomes enraged to see the world, the one that does not care about them, change around him as shops come and go. After the loss of Michael, the restaurant was the primary way to keep the memory of Michael alive. Everything about the show revolves around this consequence of their apathy, but the bear showcases that these consequences are often complex, and to solely blame yourself and to hold on to your trauma is fruitless. Holding on to this feeling that you didn't care enough only leads you to resent change. Yet change can be seen as a positive. It can not only keep the memory of your loved one alive, but enhance it as well. It can provide you with an abundance of rewards for your care. This brings me to the second way of how the bear makes you care, which is by showing the rewards of caring and compassion. One of the things that the Bearzotto family struggles with is how to show care.
So to ask somebody else how they're feeling, that just seems, I don't know, insane?
Through many scenes, we can see that each character experiences an overwhelming sense of stress. In addition to these characters, we are constantly bombarded with an overwhelming sense of chaos and anxiety. The consequence of all this chaos is apathy, as we often see Carmi dissociate to get away from his environments. It can become incredibly difficult to care about something when we are struggling with life ourselves, because trauma makes it difficult to form and maintain intimate relationships. Despite the chaos that surrounds the characters, they do make the effort to try to care for one another, and those moments of care feel sweeter. We know that they are struggling, we understand that life can be harsh, and we feel the apathy of our world. Yet despite all of that, there are moments in which characters successfully show genuine care for one another, and are rewarded with a stronger sense of community and feeling like you belong in this world. There are so many ways that we can show care, and the bear cooks them up in multiple ways. In fact, the bear not only shows care to its characters, but to the audience, you. It takes these high-intensity moments, these moments of pure chaos and apathy, and stirs them up with moments of peace, quiet moments where you enjoy your time with these characters, and moments that allow self-reflection. The show takes these moments to teach you life lessons and reminds you that you have a place amidst all of this chaos. Even with all of this apathy in the world, you are deserving of peace and care. And by showing us characters that care for one another, by showing us how we can be cared for with peace, the rewards are endless. Just as Richie begins to care for himself in the episode Forks, we learn that care can provide rewards powerful enough to change our lives. But before you can help and care for others, you have to be willing to care for yourself first. And this is a concept that I continuously struggle with. I often find myself feeling like I don't show care enough, especially to myself. And I fear the consequences that can come about from my apathy towards this world, because I know that this world hasn't cared for me. It's difficult to dive into my memories because of the trauma they contain, and I find myself able to dissociate from them, just like Carmen. But watching the bear fills me with hope. Hope for the rewards for putting in the effort and caring, both for myself and for others, including our new 4-month-old puppy that we have recently adopted. Coffee has been a constant reminder of the chaos in our lives. He often barks at inopportune times. He's shy to meet other people or dogs. He has peed in the house several times. He's come back with fleas after a long car ride at 2 a.m., and he's filled with an insane amount of energy. Yet for all the grief and trouble he has caused when he overturned our lives, we continuously care for him. We want what's best for him because he's still a puppy. Both him and I are experiencing the world for the first time together, and both him and I are deserving of all the love and care that is missing from our apathetic world, which is why we've taken the time to learn how to care for him. We've learned that his barks come from when he's being defensive or playful. We constantly attempt to make him feel safe around others to mitigate his shyness. We clean up any messes that he makes and learn that they happen because he was excited. We stayed up past 2 a.m. to bathe the fleas off of him. And we attempt to match his energy so that he constantly feels that he's loved and cared for. In showing our dog Coffee the love and care that we have for him, I am constantly reminded to care for myself too. To keep myself ready to care for others and reap the rewards of all that we can do together. If we truly care for one another, then we can all grow into the chefs we are destined to be. And we can cook up a life that keeps us full and nourished. Because when everything around you can feel like it's burning, you always have two options. Let the fire burn or care enough to put the fire out.